Megachurch pastor Robert Morris steps down and resigns after abusing and being caught up for molesting a 12-year-old girl. Let's take a look.
The founding pastor of Gateway Church, Robert Morris, resigned after a woman accused him of sexually assaulting her beginning when she was just 12 years old.
Oh boy. So the question is it fair that he resigned? Is he fully discredited? Why is he fully discredited? Does this totally erase his ministry? This video is going to seek to kind of piece that out, but let's set some backstory here. What the heck happened? You could search it up on YouTube. There's a bunch of people who are talking about this thing, but essentially he was preaching in his 20s. He was married, and he said that, and this is like a guilt-ridden thing, he was having, or the lady, her name is Cindy, she was being molested for years by Robert Morris, by Pastor Robert Morris, during his crusades while he was preaching, going around teaching. And the big question is, who knew, right? Who knew about this? Well, certainly the elders of the church did not know, right? This is a statement that they put out June 18, so just a few days ago. The Board of Elders of Gateway Church accepted his resignation, the senior pastor. In addition, the board retained the law firm to conduct an independent, thorough, professional review of the report of past abuse to ensure we have a complete understanding of the events in question. This is 5 years, 82 to 87, she was being molested by this guy. Regretfully, prior to Friday, the elders did not have all the facts of the inappropriate relationship between Morris and the victim, including her age at the time and length of the abuse. The elders' prior understanding was that Morris's extramarital relationship, which he had discussed many times throughout his ministry, was with a young lady and not abuse of a 12-year-old child, even though it occurred many years before Gateway was established. As leaders of the church, we regret that we did not have this information that we now have. Is this true? Is this that they just didn't know? Were they stupid and incompetent? Were they deceived? Who knew? For sure, I mean, they couldn't know, but maybe they did. Here's another employee, former friend and employee of Robert Morris, names the people who he believes drove the getaway car. This has allowed Morris to just kind of get away with it. He names it right here.
Yeah. But I think I know enough of the character of the men, barring at least 3, perhaps 4. And I know there are men that knew. I know Olin knew. I know James Robinson knew. I know they knew.
Okay.
And Olin was a former state trooper. He knew the law. I cannot imagine he did anything without his right hand Monty Smith knowing. And I know for a fact James Robinson knew, because they are the ones that met with the family. They met with Cindy. They met with her parents. They actually knew. And they did not report this crime to the proper authorities, which is the police department. These are not things that need to happen inside of a church. If Sherman Bible,
Woo! Former pastor, former state trooper, former police officer, they didn't report it. Did they think that they could the church could handle this, exact justice on its own? No, the church is not above the law. That's a crime. And they just didn't report it. And that one guy is a famous evangelist. And at least these guys knew. They met with the family, they met with Cindy. But what is Cindy going to say about it? Cindy, being the victim, she released a statement too. First, I'd like to thank the many people who have sent me messages of support during these past few days. Many of these encouraging notes have come from complete strangers. This has given me and my family much strength and hope during this difficult time. I have many mixed thoughts and feelings upon hearing the news of Robert Morris's resignation. Though I am grateful that he is no longer a pastor at Gateway, I'm disappointed that the Board of Elders allowed him to resign. He should have been terminated. Wow. She is disappointed that he was allowed to resign. Saving face, saving his image a little bit. Oh yeah, I'm going to do the right thing and resign and not bring shame. No, he should have been terminated. As I have previously stated, I've been seeking this for many years. My family and I have gone to leaders of very prominent churches and well-known ministries with this information, hoping that someone would hold him accountable and remove him from leadership. Now that's a little, I'm going to use the kids' term, sus. I've gone to leaders of very prominent churches and well-known ministries with this information. Now, at the same time, churches have their own stuff to handle. You know what I'm saying? So have one lady try to attack probably your friend and colleague as a pastor, famous. You kind of don't want to do that. Maybe they at least they would think to bring it up to Robert Morris. Like if I was Robert Morris's friend and call it, like if there was another pastor in the area and someone came to me saying like, that's that about that pastor, my initial reaction is like, I have nothing to do with him. He's like a friend. If he was a close friend, maybe I'd say something. So that, you know what I'm saying? Like you kind of mind, I kind of mind my own business. I'm the type to mind my own business. I got enough on my plate. I'm not trying to kick up a firestorm. But at the same time, you're like, but is this true, Robert? Like this lady just came to me, like you have no context and this lady comes out of nowhere and you don't know if she's crazy or not. It's very difficult for another pastor to deal with this. But is there guilt to be had there? Am I wrong? Should I chase down every crazy thing that someone comes up to me? I don't know. Because out of the crazies, there might be someone who might be telling the truth. I mean, it's hard. It's hard. And that's just a moment of, just honesty right there, I guess. This is the highlighted part. The leadership at Gateway received actual notice of this crime. Okay, so Gateway received notice of this crime in 2005 when I sent an email directly to Robert Morris's Gateway email address. Former Gateway elder Tom Lane received and responded to my email acknowledging the sexual abuse began on December 25, 1982 when I was 12 years old. Again in 2007 when my attorney Drummond sent a letter to Robert Morris with the hope that he would help reimburse me for thousands of dollars I had expended in counseling as a result of this abuse. His attorney acknowledged these dates as well and then attempted to blame me for the abuse. At the very least, both the Gateway pastor and at least one elder had specific notice that I was sexually abused beginning when I was 12 years old. Now, this is where it changes, right? If someone comes to me about a pastor in another church who I might consider a friend, colleague, or at least an acquaintance, I don't think I'd chase that down. If someone comes to me about my pastor, any pastor either above me or below me, any of my youth pastor, campus pastor, whatever. We got 6 campus pastors, 7, 8, depending on how you count them. We got probably about 12 pastors in general. If someone came to me about any one of those guys, even leadership, it doesn't have to be a pastor, just a children's director, children's teacher, Sunday school teacher, it is being chased down 100%. I can't tell about the other pastors out there, but in my church, home turf, big dog's yard. I shouldn't be making fun of this, but that's going to be chased down. So I know more people knew about this because I know how churches run. Gateway had the information, but intentionally decided to embrace the false narrative Morris wanted them to believe. That's tough. You know what I'm saying? Like, how did that go? Did Morris was like, oh yeah, she was a young lady, but then, it's like 12 years old. You're like, hold on, man. This is crazy. I'm not sure what I would do in that situation if I was an elder in Robert Morris's church. I don't know. I'd definitely bring it up, 100% bring it up, and then you'd have to ask him, right? If he lies to you, like, what else is there? I mean, if he lies, you kind of give credibility to your own senior pastor, right? Like, I'm trying to get into the brain, I'm just trying to get into the brain, right? You can't, in hindsight, it's very easy to be like, oh yeah, he did it, but it's difficult, especially within the church. I understand this. So, you know what ends up happening is that keeping a secret for this long just seeps into your subconscious. And Robert Morris talks about this. I thought this was a crazy clip. Crazy. This did not age well. And he talks about, Robert Morris in this clip, he's talking about how things are in your subconscious, so deep, so ingrained, and sometimes they just kind of seep out.
Have you ever said, oh, what's her name? It's on the tip of my tongue. It's not on the tip of your tongue. It's an expression. It's in your subconscious. And it's there because it'll come to you a lot of times right before you go to sleep. Cindy, it just comes out.
Robert Morris is the founder and senior pastor at Gateway Church in Southlake. A woman has come forward.
Cindy Clemishire, the accuser, she said.
Oh, God. That did not age well. No. That's bad. That's real bad. That's real bad. But this has been a history. There's been another person asking about Robert Morris, holding him accountable, asking him directly, right? This just a random member, right? This is my husband and I are Gateway members, and this has been my church for the past 6 years. Want to thank you. She's very respectful, right? Doing the right thing. Thank you for your Bible-based practical teaching, helping us guide build such a dynamic, Christ-centered church. We absolutely love it here. I believe that Gateway is a Bible-believing, Christ-loving church. I've read his books. And then she goes on to hear about like what he did on an offhanded comment on someone like Oprah board. And then she would do exactly what I would think any elder, any person who loved Robert Morris, who was under his teaching, this third paragraph. Of course, I don't want to believe that these comments are true. I remember you mentioning that you had a dark past before getting saved, but these events supposedly happened after that. Usually when I read something negative about someone I respect, I'm able to gloss over it, assuming that it's false. However, having read these person's comments and explanation, I'm having a hard time figuring out what to think about this information. It doesn't seem to be someone who is out to slander Gateway, as they didn't mention you by name, but until they sent me a private message in response to my inquiry. Obviously, the private details of your life are your own business, but this was something that I felt like I had to share with you because I'm sure you understand reading about your pastor and leader is hard to swallow, and just forgetting about it without coming to some kind of conclusion is impossible. In addition, I think it's important that you know someone is saying this about you in a forum and widely read. I look forward to your reply. So, and I'm trying to make heads or tails of this. That's why I contacted you directly and privately. So she's not spreading gossip. This person did exactly right. She's not spreading gossip. She's not going around asking. She went to Robert Morris directly, privately, discreetly, said, hey, Matthew 18, let me handle this like this. Let me ask you directly. That is the way to do it. And I understand her conflict within herself, right? Someone you love and admire and has served you and have taught you, and you've learned so much and grown so much from their teachings. How do you make heads or tails of this? You automatically have this like cognitive bias that they're not guilty. There's no way. There's no way. And yet we have this pastor surrounded by a bunch of complicit people, complicit wife, elders, covers up perverse predations. Oh yeah, I said that right. So he resigned. The fact that Morris was hold on, right here. There we go. That's the elder. The fact that Morris was allowed to resign publicly rather than be publicly terminated is pathetic. And then they say this sentence, which I love. This is the direct consequence of weak-willed men and women. If there was ever a fireable offense, this is it. And it is only the act of cowards that allow him to part on his own terms. Rather than the elders accept his letter of resignation, they should have burned it on live stream. We await to see what sort of severance package Morris will be bestowed with, whether or not it will be given 7 figures or 8. Dang. Severance. Is the wife guilty? Did she know? Did she let this happen? Then they raise this good point. In the church's revised statements, the elders' prior understanding was they did not know it was a young lady, not with the abuse of a 12-year-old child. Even if that was true, that he only had an extramarital affair with an adult woman, though so far it looks like his proclivities run much younger, he still should never have been restored to the pastorate. This is a one and done thing. He should have been excised years ago, not going to and fro on earth and walking up and down in it, like making references to the devil. Church leadership knew. And that's the question that we come back to, right? Should he be restored? Does this disqualify him from ministry so long ago? Why would it, what's our understanding of this disqualification? And then to that, I go back to the Bible. And someone posted this regarding Robert Morris. But now I'm writing you that you must not associate with anyone who calls himself a brother, but is sexually immoral or greedy, an idolater or a slanderer, a drunkard or a swindler. With such a man, do not even eat. This is someone who claims to be a Christian and then is all these things. Don't even eat with them. Don't even break bread with them. Am I using this verse in context? Is this too much? Is this out of context? What's this in reference to? I think it's at least a starting point for understanding how to deal with such a man as Robert Morris. Now you could take this and I'm not sure if this applies to a lot of different other ways, but I would imagine that if you knew the facts and he was trying to be a pastor, you should at least take something like this into consideration and be like, Nah, man. If I can't even eat with you, how am I supposed to make you a pastor? You know what I'm saying? How is that possible? So I wanted to bring this up. And this is an understanding of Christian leadership. Okay. And this is called the trilateral diagram of leadership. Okay. Just picture a triangle. And there are three components to leadership. And this is what's important of why he broke and why he is discredited. There are elements of character. There are three things that are needed for Christian leadership and being a pastor. And this may be general. There's character, there's relationships, and then there's the task, right? There's like preaching and teaching and administration. Oh, you can't even see character. Hold on, character. CHAR. Okay. And so what ends up happening is that a pastor needs to have relationships with people. They need, if you don't have good relationship with people, you're not leading anyone. You're not going to be a pastor. If you don't love and care for people, if people don't see you as your friend, as your leader, you lose that trust if they don't have a relationship. You could have character and you could be good. You could have moral character and you could be good at your task. But if you don't have a relationship, you shouldn't be the pastor. Something's wrong. If you're good at tasks, right? Preaching, teaching, that's only one thing in the trilateral understanding of being a pastor. And that's where I see a lot of people where the task portion is elevated. And this is expedited because some people might be naturally gifted with a bunch of gifts and talents that they could speak and administration. And there might be a void in that. And so people just need someone there. And then there's this character component where have they demonstrated character? Have they demonstrated trustworthiness? And all three things have to be there to be a proficient or person to be a pastor in the church. If you're missing one, your leadership is frail and crumbles. And this is what I think happens, that you put a leader and you make them a pastor in their 20s. And I should know because I was a pastor. I was a director pastor in my 20s. And you have significant dangers and pitfalls and traps there because I would probably say I was a decent enough speaker, right? I could learn from YouTube. I could emulate. I could copy sermons. I could get my own spin on it. I could interpret the Bible well because I had so many resources and I could run a youth group. Task, check, easy. I could have a lot of relationships. I grew up in the church. I had a lot of people who knew me, who were as friends. So I could have these two parts. And in your 20s, if you have that, if you had 21, 22, 23, a lot of people would think, okay, yeah, he's ready to be a leader. However, in your 20s, you do not have the experience. You do not have the amount of situations that you could be tested with to demonstrate your character. Your character is still forming. It always is forming to a degree, but you have not been in enough trials to demonstrate your character and to show what it's like. And so that's what I think what happened to Robert Morris, that he had a lot of relationships. He was really good at what he was doing, but his character was questionable, was lacking, and he was put into a part of leadership, and then he was exercising. And what character is basically who you are when no one's looking. In this case, this is very evident, like who you are when really no one else is there, and what do you do and how you exercise. This integrity has to do with this. Like, are you preaching? Is the stuff that you're preaching about in line with who you are? And if this is gone, you have a disqualified leader, certainly a pastor. Now, it's a question mark before he molested the girl. It's an X. Now it's certainty, and it's an X after. And that's why we struggle, because we put too much credence on task, and not just task. We put too much credence on relationships to the detriment of character, and that suffers. And then you start to see, and you'll have a pastor who's in danger. So what's the solution? Well, I understand that in a lot of different cases, it can't be helped. Maybe you don't have that many relationships, but you have character and task, and so you got to put someone in there. So like if you an outside hire, for instance, for a pastor, don't have any relationships but can do it, and the character is there and the task is there. So you outside hire, or someone who is just not available. Like their character is good and they have good relationships, but they are terrible. They are terrible at the job. But you just need someone. You need a warm body to fill the pulpit. I get it. But if any one of these is gone, it's gone. And I think if you were to put these in order, if you were to prioritize them in order, character is number one. Character is number one. Relationships, number two. Tax, number three. And what happens is we prioritize 2 and 3 and we leave 1. And that's when you have these moral failings. The churches, this is a black mark for the church. People are turned away. People need therapy. People are damaged for life. I hope there's healing with Cindy. I hope there's healing with Gateway Church. I hope there's healing with Robert Morris. I hope everyone seeks God through all this. Anyway, guys, let me know if you guys agree with any of this or what you think. What are your reactions? I'd like to read them in the comments. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys in the next video.